Welcome to Real Talk, the unedited, scripted, unfiltered show where I sit down with a gaming personality and talk about anything and everything. It's rare to see a player with so many unorthodox games, yet Paulo Viscara seems to thrive in them. Whether it's a hatchery in his opponent's base or an Ultralisk in an Overlord, Paulo loves to keep his opponents guessing. Not only a top-level player, he is also a founder and co-leader of Root Gaming, a premier North American team. Let's go ahead and bring him on. CatZ, welcome to Real Talk.
Hey.
How you been, man?
Be here. I've been good. How you been, JP?
I've been pretty good. Now, where are you actually at right now? Because I know you have kind of hopped around a lot recently in terms of where you've been living.
Yeah. Right now I'm in Lima, Peru, city where I was born and raised. So I'm happy to be back here.
Cool. Well, this is going to be a very interesting Real Talk for me because I think that myself, as well as a lot of other people, really don't know much about your personal life. They know you kind of as the goofy Zerg player who does very, very well using unorthodox builds. But other than that, we don't know that much about you. So you said you were born in Lima, Peru, correct?
Yeah, Lima.
Lima. Sorry, I apologize. When did you end up moving to the States?
I moved to the States for studying. So right after I finished school, I went to school here for architecture for 2.5 years. And I didn't really like it. My mom kind of like bribed me into that. At first I went into graphic design. She said it was too technical, and I really liked it. And she said, "I'll buy you a car if you go study architecture." So I was like, "Okay." I was young and stupid. I got bribed. So I halfway through the career, I realized I didn't like it, and I wanted to study animation for obvious reasons. We don't do Shreks in Peru, so.
What did your parents do for work growing up?
My mom is a lawyer, but she's also a bit of an entrepreneur, I suppose. She owned her own store and stuff. Now, being like that sounds weird, for someone in the U.S., but being a lawyer in Peru is not an uncommon thing, and it's not something that will reward you economically, like to a great extent, unless you're one of the absolute best, which my mom wasn't. but she did okay for herself anyways. My dad is a mechanical engineer, I believe. I'm not even sure, but he worked for the most part supervising mines and stuff like that. It's a pretty big industry in Peru.
Yeah. Do you have any siblings?
One older brother, 7 years older, so he's 33 now.
Would you say you guys are close, or what's that relationship like?
No. Well, my brother was a little bit of a bully for me growing up. He was always, he was always 7 years older than me.
Right.
We, like any brothers, we would fight and stuff like that. But my brother has always had problems. Like, say he would get drunk a lot, and then he'd become aggressive and shit. Like, he wouldn't hit me or anyone, but he'd throw shit around, and it was always I always kind of held back a lot on that regard. Of course, like brothers, we played a lot of games and stuff like that, and he's part of the reason that I get into gaming and even into art. So yeah, we're not close by any means though, and he tries to change and he tries to get better, and maybe eventually I'll give him another chance, I suppose.
Now, you mentioned that you moved to the U.S. for school, kind of on your mom's deal that she would get you a car. What was school like for you prior to that in Peru?
Oh no, I went to architecture for the car in Peru, and then I went to the U.S. to study media arts and animation, which is what I wanted to do.
Gotcha.
School in Peru was cool. I went to one of the best schools for architecture, but I never liked it too much. Architecture is considered art to a great extent, but it's very rigid, and it's not something that I like too much. So, school in Peru, like college especially, is not much different than the U.S. other than the language barriers. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty much the same. It's pretty standard.
I mean, what was kind of a normal day for you in Peru growing up?
Well, growing up as a little kid or growing
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
Well, let's see. My high school, which was also my middle school, because that's how it works in Peru, was really close to my house. So I would ride a bicycle there every day at like 7 a.m. Back then I was in shape. And yeah, I mean, it was a Catholic school. It was only boys in the school, actually, which is a very common trend in Peru, actually, for private schools. There's like private boys' schools and girls' schools, and then there's a party and they come together. Um, it has its obvious disadvantages, but at the same time, it's a little bit of a more like, more loose environment where you can fart and be cool.
Yeah, kind of a boys club type mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in that regard, I mean, like my class at school, like are really close, and we still keep in touch and stuff like that. Yeah, I really had a good time growing up.
Would you say that in school that you were kind of the class clown that the StarCraft community kind of knows you to be these days?
To some extent, I suppose. I was, I was always drawing and doing shit on clay and at school, so a lot of the shit where you throw clay around, which happened a lot, was my fault, I guess. And we had a lot of um, stupid things going on that I started. For example, like during recess time, there was this thing that I started when I like watched the WWF and shit, where I'd be The Rock and like some other guy would be Triple H, and then we would like get like 10 people and start fighting. I don't know, it was funny. Um, I guess I was sort of a class clown. My class had 160 people in it, divided in four. That's also a difference with the U.S. You don't hop around the classrooms, the teachers do. So, yeah, every year you get a new class of 30 to 40 peers.
What was what was your first introduction to video games, kind of outside school? Do you remember how young you were?
Video games.
Yeah.
Well, my brother, like I said before, played Atari, and so he played fucking. There was a Donkey Kong game in Atari and a Pac-Man game, and actually my dad, my brother, and one of my uncles like were very competitive and like would bet a few bucks on Pac-Man.
Okay.
So I guess that would be the very root as far as I can remember. Then growing up, I guess in Nintendo I started playing Street Fighter and stuff like that. Street Fighter was Nintendo, right? Super Nintendo, perhaps.
Yeah, I think Super Street Fighter 2 Turbo was, or maybe
Yeah.
maybe it eventually. I don't know, that it kind of jumped around from system to system sometimes back then. So, but Street Fighter was kind of your first one of the big games.
Pretty much, yeah. I would play with my brother almost every day, and we would like bet stuff as well. Like he pretty much owned my entire room worth of possessions from betting against me. Again, he was 7 years older than me, but we did that nonstop. Until perhaps PlayStation. Tekken 3 was one of the games that we played the most. So yeah, I never played non-competitive games.
Would you say that games kind of distracted you from school at all back then, or were you pretty focused on school kind of throughout your childhood?
No, man, I never was focused on school. Not particularly proud to say that, but I don't think it has had any major impact on my life thus far. I was never bad at school. I was always in the top third. Is that even how it goes?
Sure.
It was, yeah, it went by thirds, so it was a top, medium, and low. I was always in the top or high medium, and I never did shit for school. I just would sit there and draw and work on my clay sculptures. So school in Peru is a lot harder than in the U.S. I gotta say that.
Really?
I went to high school in the U.S. for 3 months twice during my break. Like I was telling you before we started the show, like winter here or winter in the U.S. is summer here.
Right.
So, you know, in my summer vacations, like twice, I went to Utah, and I actually like went to high school for those 3 months, and
Interesting.
it was pretty fucking easy.
Well, so was that a good experience for you? Was it kind of an eye-opening experience getting out of Peru?
Up to that point, I had traveled a lot. I've been to the U.S. before living in the U.S. 12 times as a tourist, so it wasn't that much of an eye-opening experience. I guess the first time I visited the U.S., I was like 7 or 8. So I already, but going to school in itself was something that I definitely wanted to experience because of all the movies that I, you know, fucking all these movies that show the high schools and all these stereotypes and stuff that happen in the U.S. And I was happy to see that it was all for the most part true.
What about sports and things like that? Did you do any other activities outside of school?
Yeah, up until I was 12 years old, I was a competitive swimmer, I suppose.
Really?
My brother again, yeah, my brother again was national champion in a couple of categories there. So I kind of, you know, my parents kind of like forced me to. I never really liked swimming all that much, but I was good at it. I never won any major tournaments or anything like that. Sports that I actually liked, I played soccer every single day in high school, you know, or in school from day one to till the end. So yeah.
Now, in terms of StarCraft, how old were you, and how also were you introduced to the game?
Let's see, I was probably, I want to say 15 or so, maybe. Like it was pretty early in the game. I don't even think it was Brood War. And basically like Peru is perhaps not as much as it used to be, but it still is a country that resembles Korea in the sense of it has a lot of PC cafes all over the place. And at a given point in time, it became like, you know, like at first it was like, okay, internet cafes where people go for internet because not everyone has it yet. But then it became more of a, you know, just PC gaming cafes where people go to play Counter-Strike and StarCraft and Warcraft and, you know, kind of all that stuff. So the first time I played StarCraft was at a PC cafe with some of my best friends and one of my best friend's uncle. His uncle just kind of like 1v4'd us. And he just made carriers.
Okay.
And from then on, I was like, okay, I'm going to destroy this guy.
So
Yeah, man. Carriers. How cheap is that?
your fascination with the game kind of came from being competitive with your relatives? Is that kind of what you're getting at?
That was my friend's uncle, not mine. But
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I
Being competitive
kinda
with other people, then it was kind of the
Yeah,
competitive
yeah.
drive.
Yeah, and I obviously enjoy the game. So I got into it.
When would you say you kind of saw yourself as a, I guess, not a professional player, but someone who, the tier down from professional, I guess amateur, that's not really the right word that I'm looking for, but you played a lot of 2v2 with Drewby back then. Would you kind of say that was your prime in Brood War?
Yeah, absolutely. I was never, you know, a prodigy by any means in 1v1 in Brood War. I was a creative player, and I did proxy hatch in Brood War, and I was in Team Peru. I was actually the captain of Team Peru for Brood War for a little while there. I actually, you know, I don't know if you remember the WG Tour, but I made Team Peru in WG Tour. So I played 2v2 and 1v1 for them. I played in all the Nation Wars, or in a lot of them. I wouldn't say all of them, actually. And yeah, I still had very unorthodox play and proxy hatching and stuff like that. I would say when I joined Infernal Gamers IG, that was probably my first serious team. And then I started 2v2ing with Naranjito, a guy from Peru, and later on with Drew.
What is it about that style of kind of the unorthodox play that draws you to it? Why do you play that way? Is it something that you just kind of love to do? You love to be kind of that weird player that players aren't so sure what's going on?
No, not really. It's more of a thing that I like to figure out the game by myself. And I'm extremely lazy as well. So I don't like watching the game. I don't like studying other people. I don't like watching replays. I guess it's a little bit of pride as well, in the sense that I don't like studying other people, if that makes any sense. It's like, okay, I think to myself, I can do better. I don't need to copy anything. I would be the happiest man on earth if replays didn't exist. Actually, I wouldn't be, because then we wouldn't be able to to make money of it and be super popular game. But if there was a way where the game thrives and it's highly competitive without people being able to watch replays, that would be perfect for me, because I just don't. I just, the creative quote unquote style that you see from me is purely due to the fact that it's all mine.
Do you feel like that hurts you at all and your level of skill by not watching the replays of others and not kind of following the trends in the game?
No, I wouldn't say it does. It's kind of a thing where if I don't practice enough, it definitely helps me to have that surprise element on my side. And, if my mechanics are at their best, then I can still do anything else. So it's just a lot of variety. I do understand what the meta game is, and I do take, I may not study replays or watch a lot of tournaments, but I do take a lot of criticism from my teammates. So, I am, and I do watch my teammates in Clan Wars and in tournaments. And friends. So for the most part, I'm aware of what's going on, and if I'm playing good, if I'm practicing enough, I'm able to execute pretty much anything. So if I can do both, then that's ideal for me. If I can be unpredictable.
Now, kind of going back to you and Drewby, you guys were very, very well known in the 2v2 scene back in Brood War. What made you two work so well as a team, and what is it about Drewby? I mean, you guys have been pretty good friends. You started Root, which we'll get to in just a little bit. But what is it about Drewby that you and him just work so well together?
I honestly don't know, man. We started playing 2v2, like, I don't know, 7, 8 years ago now. And we were pretty good from the start. It's like Drewby with Naranjito. I had really good chemistry, if that's even applicable to 2v2. In the sense that we would understand what your partner is doing without having to talk it over so much or stuff like that, or that thing where, like, in 2v2 you really need to trust your ally. It's like, okay, like, I need all your gas. Okay, give me all your, as far in StarCraft 2 at least, it's like, I need gas. Okay, here's my gas. He doesn't say, I was gonna go cloak Banshee, it's like, okay, here's my gas. Like, you got a plan, So I guess it was just easy to work with. Also, both Drury and I had relatively big egos, and Drury, like we clashed a lot. But at the same time, we could both tank it. Whereas if I played with you 5 games and then you fucked up, and I'd be like, fuck JP, you fucked up, and you're like, no, you fucked up. It's like, no, fuck you. But with Druby, it was like, you fucked up. It's like, yeah, I did. Okay. You fucked up. Yeah, I did. You fucked up. No, you fucked up. No, fuck you. And the next day, we would just start playing again. So I don't know. It was just a good setup, I suppose. It just worked on every level.
Now, let's kind of jump into Wings of Liberty. You guys kind of entered Wings of Liberty back in the beta and kind of shifted away from 2v2 and started focusing on 1v1. Was there any specific reason for that, or was it simply just kind of a new game? Everyone was somewhat on was on kind of the same level, still learning the game and whatnot, and you felt like you could probably compete at that time?
Well, to answer that question, I think I'd have to go a little bit back. I quit Brood War for the last 3 years before StarCraft 2 came out, and I was playing Dota back then. I really liked that game, by the way. And but before I quit, it was like, okay, I'm done with this game. Hey, when StarCraft 2 comes out, like it had already been announced, we're making the best team in North America, is what we said.
You and Drewby?
And the plan from the start, yeah.
Okay.
like back then, I designed a logo for the team, and the team was gonna be called We Serious because we were serious about it. But it was a cool logo too. It was like a rock, you know, like a stone, like a stone rock with a face. Those things. But then we found out that Serious Gaming already existed, so we had to come up with a different name. That's when StarCraft 2 came out. But anyways, the philosophy behind that was, when we make the new team, if things stay the same as in StarCraft 1 for the most part, and Warcraft 3 were working, where clan wars, you know, initially at least were 4-1 versus 1s and 1-2 versus 2. The plan was, if we start a new team and we want it to be the best in North America, all we have to do is win both. Like, you win your 1 versus 1, I'll win mine. We win the 2 versus 2, and the other 2 people on the team can lose. I don't give a shit. We'll still be the best. So when we actually switched to StarCraft 2 in the beta, we did start playing 2v2 a lot, and we actually, you know, like, it was really nice because we had the game for about 1 week, and the beta had been out for at least 3, and you know, like, within 5 days or so, we started playing against people that in Brood War, at least for 1v1, we wouldn't play against, say In Control and Louder, you know? And we started beating them, and it felt really good. So from then on, it was like, oh, dude, like, we're better than we were in Brood War. Like, this is a new game. Let's go. And then that same week, I think we beat In Control and LC Gamer 4-1. They accused us of stream cheating, and that felt really good too.
And this is back in the beta?
Yeah, very early beta.
How much of your kind of not so much success, but just being well known for who you are, do you kind of contribute back to the beta and having those unorthodox builds back then?
A lot. I think it has to do a lot with being in the right place at the right time. This sort of thing does. So I consider myself pretty lucky. Was I to start playing right now and I was at the same level and with the same strategies, I would have a lot of harder of a time becoming popular. But at the same time, as much as it is luck, it's also a lot for the game. And, you know, it's like I was there from the start and I didn't know that there was going to be money involved. And I'm happy that I stuck through it. So, yeah, I do attribute a lot of my quote-unquote success to starting early on.
Do you find it offensive that you've always really been kind of tagged the creative player rather than just simply a good player?
Oh, no, absolutely not. I take that as a compliment. It's not something that I, try to do. So if it just comes to me, and I may not have ever been known as the best player, but I can certainly beat anyone, I think. And the fact that I can beat anyone using my own strategies, it feels really good.
Mm-hmm. I want to kind of jump into Root Gaming more now. You said that you wanted to be called We Serious, and then obviously Serious Gaming existed. Why did you settle on the name Root Gaming? Where did that come from?
Oh man, we were like suggesting names for like a few days, and we didn't really have all that many great ideas. It was me, Drew, and Gian who was gonna be our admin at the time, and we were throwing around names, and names like Drew wanted our team to be called the Assassins.
The Assassins. So once upon a time, you could have been We Serious or The Assassins. Sorry,
The Assassins. The Assassins is actually the group of moderators that moderate for the most part the Root streams for a long, long time now, since the beta perhaps, and help out on the Root forums now. Like, they are called The Assassins. It's kind of underground. It's kind of on the down low.
Okay.
So we love those guys. But yeah, I suggested Root Gaming because when I looked at the tag, it looked pretty, Root. And then we started, like, I went on to look for definitions of Root, and it basically like the definitions that I found was basically everything that I wanted the team to be. So that worked out pretty well. I'm actually opening root on the dictionary to see if I can show you some of those definitions.
Sure.
To implant or establish deeply. Okay, this dictionary sucks. Well, when I looked it up, it had really good definitions for the
Gotcha.
term. So yeah,
Gotcha.
you know, like it basically means establishing, and that's something that we really needed to do at the time, so we liked it.
What were some of the biggest hurdles for the team when you were first kind of starting out?
Well, we obviously had no idea how to run a team in an environment that was becoming dominated by, you know, money and stuff. Like, say, we didn't have, like, I had experience running teams as far as scheduling clan wars went, and, you know, getting the players to like practice and shit like that. But I never had experience running a team on a business level before. In Brood War, I did have like the experience that I just mentioned, like because of IG. I was the leader or co-leader of IG with Bing Bong back then. And yeah, the big problem was that we had no idea what to do. We had no idea what steps to take in order to try to get sponsors, despite us having an incredibly strong roster. I think undisputably we were the best team in North America in the beta. And that was all a team made out of, you know, people that we scouted based on potential and not achievements. We didn't really recruit anyone because he was good at any game previously, like perhaps EG did at the time. You know, EG picked up basically, I believe it was called Media in Brood War, which was a very successful North American team. So they were kind of guaranteed to become good, you know?
Right.
What we did was basically play the ladder, look for people that seemed like they had a lot of potential to grow, and pick them up, like, say, QXC, for instance, or Cawthon Lock, even Kiwi and Slush, pretty much everyone in the early route. So, yeah, I forgot the question.
Just talking about hurdles, I think you definitely answered it, and some of the problems and hurdles that you guys kind of struggled with back in the day. Who made the biggest impact on the team as a player? If you could kind of focus on one player that you would say made a big splash for you guys back in the beta, who would that be?
I would say Cawthon Lock and Kiwi probably. Yeah, I'd have to name those two. At different points in time, I think they were our aces and the people that, you know. Also, obviously, like QXC, Drury, they all had really moments of when they shined above the rest, and basically won every tournament in North America for a while, online at least. But yeah, Cawthon Lock, I mean, he was a fucking beast. He was.
What happened to him? I remember we actually used him in some of the MLG show matches back in the day, and he was there for like 4 or 5 weeks in a row or something crazy like that, and then he just kind of stopped playing.
He 4-1'd Dertosis, 4-0'd Hydra, 4-0'd Orb, beat someone else, and then lost to Slush. So we were happy about that too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, Slush beat him, because I remember the burrowed roaches, and everyone was like, well, this is crazy back then, because no one knew what the fuck was going on in the game. But what happened with Cawthon Luck? Did he just didn't enjoy the game anymore? Or?
Well, he unfortunately like left at the worst possible time for his career. I feel like had he stayed playing the game, I feel like he would be not just one of the most popular, but one of the best players outside of Korea. But he basically left when we all decided that we loved the game and we were in it for the love, you know, and he couldn't. He was like, I need money, you know, which is something that we didn't have. And really, to be realistic, like no one had. Very few teams, perhaps aside from EG, invested heavily in StarCraft 2 early on. So, yeah, I that was another one one of the biggest struggles was once it started becoming popular and once teams started realizing, oh shit, there's a lot of money that's going to be coming from here. You know, they tried to buy our players. They tried to buy our squad, our entire squad. We actually like received, like EG wanted to pick up Root as Root. You know, not just 2 players, all of Root. And they wanted to give us a year in EG, and then after a year, they would like decide what the squad was going to remain from their current squad combined with ours. We didn't like the idea of separating. We didn't like the idea of joining any other team but Root. None of us did. It was something, we had team meetings every week, and we discussed this every week, and it was like, it was really hard, man. It was like, hey guys, so the sponsor surge is going really shitty. If anyone wants to leave, that's fine. I know you all got offers, you know, from fucking Fnatic, EG, and Complexity, and whatever teams. You know, there was a lot of offers, and smaller teams too that never came through. But they were always like, no, we'll wait, no. You know, it was really encouraging. I really love my team and its players. No one except for Major left at their first offer, or even close to that.
Now, I remember a certain Ventrilo conversation that I was in on with you guys back when Complexity was kind of kicking around the idea of picking you guys up. And at the time, I was pretty, I wouldn't say upset's the best word, I guess passionate maybe, of just, I was like, you guys will never find a sponsor. Like, it was so hard. What was the tipping point for yourself as well as Root as a team to finally join Complexity when you guys did?
Well, by then, Chef had gone to Liquid, QC had gone to FXO, Galfonlock had quit the game. We had an offer to go as the entire team with Complexity, which was, you know, pretty tentative. And we usually, since EG, I can't think of another offer that we got us to pick up our entire squad. EG was the first team to acknowledge that, you know, we weren't separating. And they were like, okay, we're not going to try to, you know, steal Kiwikaki and leave you guys to dry. Like, we understand you're a team of friends, so you're all welcome to come. But we declined that. So Complexity came up with a similar offer, and we considered it very much. At the same time, I wasn't, you know, like, none of us really. It was still a time where, you know, money was not as common as it might be now in StarCraft 2. So I didn't make a shitload of money streaming by any means, and, you know, putting a lot of time into the team, and it wasn't paying off. Oh, Pokerstars. Pokerstars was going to be our first big sponsor, right? And we were in a trial period with them, and we were kicking ass. They gave us these pre-rolls that we had to, like, you know, get people to sign up in Pokerstars for. Right. And we filled them up, like, on the same day. So, yeah, we were rocking with Pokerstars, and then they got busted. So, you know, when that happened, it was pretty bad for us, because that was our hope that we were looking forward to. You know, it was like, okay, we're in this 3-month trial. It's been, yeah, month and a half, and then it just went to shit.
What was your? Or go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
Oh no, you weren't. That was just an ending in so, I suppose. So yeah, that pretty much tipped the balance, and we decided that we didn't have time to, you know, be players and run the team and keep everyone around with no, you know, promises, or, well, it wasn't even promises, but, you know, like this thing of, okay, let's stick together just for the sake of sticking together when people, like, could be making money otherwise. And since Complexity offered us all to go together, it was pretty much perfect.
What was your stay like with Complexity? Were you happy with kind of your overall experience with the team?
Yeah, absolutely. Jason Bass is an amazing person. He's a great leader, and so is Jason Lake. Jason Lake is a very knowledgeable person. Jason Bass doesn't get as much recognition as Jason Lake does, I don't feel, in the public eye, but they're pretty much, you know, equals. And as much as Jason Lake is the face, Jason Bass does a lot for the team and interacts a lot with the players, and I think Complexity is a great team. I was very happy throughout my stay with them.
Kind of jumping straight to the end of your stay on Complexity, what was the big reason for you guys leaving?
We're making Root.
That was kind of the main goals. You guys wanted to just bring Root back?
Yeah, pretty much. Our contract was gonna expire. Rain had dissolved, which was huge for us, or I wouldn't say huge for, but like that sounds so mean.
No, it was an opportunity. There you go.
Yeah, because Kiwi Kaki and Flush were both teamless, and you know they're part of the core of the team. Then Destiny had been kicked from Quantic, and that was also a core part of the team. And with our contracts ending, we were like, hey, we're all gonna be free in just a second. Why don't we remake Root? And this is a different time. Now we understand, perhaps in part thanks to being on another team, how things should work and operate a little bit better. Now we have a little bit more economic stability. From streaming or whatever it is, I can devote more time to the team and hopefully make it succeed. And yeah, it was just a great opportunity to do that. So when Complexity came back to us offering us to renew the contract, I told them a ridiculous sum of money that I knew they would never accept, and then we went on with the plan.
Now, you have taken a lot of, not time off, but you've kind of refocused yourself on managing and coaching the team. Has this kind of, now you're playing a lot of Heart of Swarm, obviously, but did that affect your level of play at all?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, during my stay at Complexity, perhaps towards the end where I was practicing in Korea a lot, that might have been where I was playing at my best. I was beating Korean Grandmasters on a daily basis, and I was happy with that. And matching against MKP and Leenock, and it felt really good. And from then on, I am more than happy to step down and rely on the amazing team that I have to sort of carry me. It's not like I'm shit at the game. I think I can still beat anyone, but I am not afraid to take a step back and kind of rely on them to do the dirty work while I go and manage shit and do graphics and try to make the team grow and shit happen for my guys, for my boys.
How's that going? The whole managing and coaching aspect of things. Are you happy with where you are right now?
Yeah, very much so. One of the first thing that we did with Root, actually, when we remade it, was we got one of my best friends here in Peru, Diego. We made him part owner. So, oh, my camera froze, did it?
Oh, no, but it's just going HD.
It's now HD. So
fucking Skype.
Yeah, yeah, fucking Skype. One of my best friends, he's a business major from one of the best business schools in Peru. And, he likes StarCraft 2. He didn't know a lot about esports, but he certainly knows more about business than I ever will. So the first thing we did, and we realized this was a mistake to not do this the first time around, was to get someone who actually knows what the fuck they're doing to run the business side of the team. So as much as I help in sponsored talks and running the team in general, he's the guy that will be working on shit like our sponsorship deck and things that we should or shouldn't do and what is acceptable to offer, and has a little bit more understanding of how much it is worth for a company to sponsor us based on the numbers that we have and stuff like that. So I think we're doing pretty well. We have a few. We're talking to a few potential sponsors, and hopefully a couple of them will come through soon. And yeah.
Well, I just want to say good luck with that, because that stuff is not fun, nor is it easy.
Yeah.
It's very reassuring to hear you kind of speak the lingo with sponsorship decks and all that, because a lot of players just don't understand that aspect of esports. So, are any of your players salaried right now, or how's that working?
Three.
Three of them are.
Three of our players, yeah. We have a sponsorship from Twitch that gives us monies, as well as the benefits from Twitch. So yeah, we got 3 of our players in salaries, and we plan to put a few more on salary when we get our next sponsor. We don't plan on profiting from the team that is me, Diego, and Drew at least for a year or two. Obviously, if I'm gonna make a team, I want to get rich off of it, but just not until everyone is more than content with what we got. So our budget is less than 1/4 of where we want to be at least by the end of the year, budget-wise. We are being careful with it. We're not throwing money around that we can't afford or anything like that. But we definitely want to reinvest a shitload of money for the team in the team for a long, long time before we can profit from it. I think that's the only way that it could grow.
Do you offer anything other than salaries to your players in terms of financial gains, or do you pay for trips to all these events? How does that work out?
Yes, we pay for trips depending on what region they're. Well, everyone's in North America now. So if they qualify for an event, we'll pay for their trips. As far as MLG goes, we'll probably pay for 5 to 6 players or perhaps a little bit less, and that's all budget constraints that we have. If we're able to, like for example, last MLG we were able to save a little bit of money because we had 5 players qualify for WCS. So when shit like that happens, then next MLG maybe we can send an extra player, or we're actually going to be able to send 4 players to IPL 5 because we got 4 players qualified. So yeah, we do offer that. We do assure that for a few players, and then a few of them are kind of on if budget allows basis.
Does that initiative that's kind of been started now in esports, where people that qualify are starting to get their trips funded, do you see that kind of being something that needs to be there for teams like Root?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Paying for trips, kind of taking over the big bulk of the money issue for a lot of these other teams out there who might not have the sponsors for them. Do you see that kind of being a huge thing right now that a lot of organizations, MLG, the IPLs, the Blizzards of the world that are doing? Is that just super awesome for you guys, to put it bluntly?
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, I mean it rewards the players as well as the team. So like it's more like right now it's like, okay guys, go play the IPL qualifier, but don't try too hard to qualify.
How much of an impact does that have on a
awesome
team? I mean, is that one of the things that's not keeping you guys around, but it's definitely helping you guys out immensely, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it definitely helps us because it's an easy way for us to gain exposure and not have to, pick and choose who's more ready to go for a tournament, but the tournament does it on its own. It's nice. I really like it. I wish perhaps more tournaments did that, obviously, but I don't know. At the same time, having been on a team like Complexity, or I'm sure EG players don't give the slightest shit,
Right. Right.
So from my position, it's awesome.
I'm always going to use EG as kind of the biggest money maker in terms of a team. Comparing Root to EG, you guys have kind of always, I guess struggle might be somewhat of a harsher term with sponsors, where they've always kind of flourished. Do you think Root will be around because of that longer than a lot of these other teams, since you guys are always so kind of based on your fundamentals, and money's always been a problem, but you guys have always focused on just being a team before money?
Yeah, I think that might keep us around longer than teams that are trying to, for example, I hate to use this as an example, but Rain is a good example of this. I didn't know this until I saw it on Frank Fields' Twitter, but it was like, I'm finally about to finish paying my debt that I acquired from Rain. So he basically bought a squad, and he invested a lot of money, and it didn't work out for him. So That's a risk that we are not really taking. We're going with what we got. We are a popular team. We got a sponsorship from Twitch because of that, and because we are good at streaming. So I think we'll be around for a long while. Also, we're a very popular, like I just said that we're a really popular team. So we're always going to be attractive to new players that are trying to break into the scene. And having said that, like the owners of the team, that being me and Drury, are professional players. So we're pretty good at scouting, I think. We're pretty good at building shit out of nowhere. Like, I don't think anyone was, or not many people were aware of how good Massa was, and he's just like raking everyone in its path so far. So, it's a win-win situation. I wish I was pro at every game so I could go and get people who deserve the exposure and don't quite have it, and at the same time grow my team.
How much do you think EG's kind of gobbling up all these big sponsors, these huge moneymakers right now in the scene, is hurting for some of these other teams right now?
I don't know if I see it as it hurting the other teams. It's not like, say Monster, for example. EG got him. If EG didn't get him, no one would have got him. So I can't see it that way. The way I see it is they're bringing more money into the industry. As far as buying the best players, I mean, I'm happy with what we got. The lowest budget team in the history is 7-2 against EG since the beginning of StarCraft 2. So I'm happy with that.
A lot of people are kind of kicking around this mentality that EG is now an agency and not a team. Do you think the idea of a team is somewhat outdated in this day and age in esports?
Absolutely. I don't think that there are many teams that are teams because they're friends. Like I would say Root is one of the only teams that grew as friends and then became great players, or maybe perhaps based on potential. But most teams are just gonna, pay whoever they can afford that they think it's a good bet, just like soccer teams. I mean, that doesn't make them any less of a team, or doesn't mean that they can't become friends and come to care for each other or the brand that they represent. But teams are certainly, to some extent, an advertisement agency. There's no disputing that.
Do you think in the future players will kind of do what Grubby are doing right now and represent themselves, where they have maybe an agency kind of behind the scenes doing all the work, but at the end of the day it's Grubby from Team Grubby, it's not Grubby from Team EG? Is that kind of the wave of the future, or you think these agencies or teams will always exist?
I think the teams will always exist. Reason being, one, there's always going to be team leagues around, and they're exciting to watch. Two, there are many players like Grubby that have already a following backing them from the very beginning. So Grubby transitions as the best Warcraft 3 player of all times, and he's not Chinese, like every other sick Warcraft 3 player. So it's like, he made all the right moves to establish his own brand, but he was also big enough to establish his own brand, and that's not the case with pretty much anyone except for Wydra, who also did the same thing.
Right.
Perhaps Destiny, if he can, get his own sponsors, and personalities like, casters. Perhaps Day9 could do the same thing.
You brought up Destiny. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your thought. Were you good?
Oh no, that was it.
Okay.
Yeah.
You brought up Destiny, and recently you guys had to let him go, obviously due to some unsavory pictures that were kind of leaked. You released a statement that included, in the last incident that Steven was involved in not long ago, our sponsors received a lot of negative feedback through email. The whole situation when it comes to Steven, we know that this isn't the first or last time that this will happen. Obviously, you guys did what any team had to do. Everyone kind of gets that. But the question that I want to talk about is the whole messaging of sponsors, which has become very common. Should the community have such a clear line of communication to such a huge driving force in esports, the sponsors?
No, absolutely not. And I think it would have been better if it had been kept quiet from the start. you know, for me, it was a tool to help explain what was going on. If I just released Destiny and on the grounds of, you know, you showed your dick, you know, that wasn't it. Like, in reality, like, we had to let him go. And it wasn't just because of that. It was because of previous incidents as well. Like, Destiny was already preventing us from talking to a lot of companies that would tell us no because you got Destiny in your team. And we were okay with that. We went into this assuming that risk.
And was that because
was
that because they knew of him already, or was it because people were kind of constantly, the community was always so not, I guess, open about what Destiny, some of the incidents that he had kind of in his past? Was it more of that the companies knew about this?
Smaller companies, no, you know, smaller companies that are more involved with esports obviously know everything that's going on, or have someone that knows everything that's going on. Well, bigger companies don't, but bigger companies also receive feedback. For example, Gigabyte. So yeah, for the most part, a lot of people are aware of what's going on. A lot of them may care, and a lot of them may go with the any publicity is good publicity kind of thing, you know.
Right.
So.
Right.
Yeah, it's a risk we assumed. The risk that we obviously knew was there. Steven was very cooperative from the start. I mean, he still sweared and, you know, still uses racial and homophobic slurs from time to time, even if he doesn't mean it. I know that he doesn't. But he tried to do it less while on Root. Now, from a business standpoint, you know, he was not only already preventing us from getting sponsors, but when this thing happened, it blows up to where if we were unlikely to get a sponsor, now we were twice as unlikely. And our current sponsor, you know, the one that we have, aside from Twitch, which is pretty much guaranteed because of our numbers, also got a lot of negative emails. And, you know, when you got one small company supporting you and they start getting negative emails and, you know, telling them not to sponsor RID, like, my thought process was not just, okay, we're not going to get X, Y, or Z, and we're in a little bit of trouble with our current sponsor, who actually was really understanding of the issue, I must say. They were like, hey, we just want to see you handle this in a professional way. We don't, you know, we're not asking you to let this thing go or anything like that. But when that happens, what I automatically think is whatever our next sponsor may be, small or large, it's gonna get, you know, emails with Destiny's history in it from the start, and we're not gonna get it because, as it is, it's already hard to get sponsors and convince them that this is the right industry for them to advertise on. So it was unfortunate, but it was something that had to be done. And I want to emphasize, it wasn't the thing of, you know, I mean, I can see how unfair it was for him as well. Seeing that it wasn't entirely his fault and he was just talking to friends. I mean, from his point of view, I completely see the situation. But yeah, I mean, we're still good friends. He's still in the Root chat. He still plays with us. We never supported him or planned on giving him money or trips, to be absolutely honest with you. So it's not like he lost a lot. In terms of player value, we didn't lose a lot. In terms of fan base and exposure, we did take a hit. But, you know, it's that needed to be taken in order for us to grow.
What was that conversation like? Was he pretty open to kind of what happened and understanding, like, okay, I need to kind of leave the team because of this? Or was it more of a fight on his end to kind of stick around?
It was sort of a thing where I don't know if he could have seen it coming, because I had brought shit like this up before, where I was like, hey, you're more of a liability than you are an asset to us. Like, we're good friends. This is not, you know, I'm not being a douchebag when I say shit like this, because it's, you know, he's one of my best friends. It's, you know, I'm not, I don't think I come off as, you know, hey, you fucking suck. It's more of a, hey, dude, like, this is how it is. So I had talks with him where I explained that for us he was more than of a liability than an asset, and in order to counteract that, we're gonna need him to say, be on our show whenever we launch that, or do a certain thingy for us, you know. Small shit, just kind of to counter, like, you know, bring us exposure because we're losing so much because of it. And he was willing to do that because he, again, is one of my best friends, and he loves the team, and everyone in the team loves him. So, but I said it more than once, you know. I was like, hey, dude, can you like stop saying faggot right now, please? You know, hey, can you, you know, and it just eventually kind of like blew up. It wasn't. So I went to him and I told him, hey, dude, I just had a meeting with Drew and Diego, the other two owners, and Rush Ortiz got emails from sponsors, and other two sponsors that we were trying to talk to got emails as well, and we just can't keep you on the team anymore. At first he was like, what the fuck, it's not my fault. And then as I explained, he was like, okay, yeah, you're right, I fully understand. And again, he's still in the root chat and plays with us and everything. So.
Well, kind of moving on to bigger and better. You guys have 2 players qualified for the WCS World Finals, Vibe and Major. We just had EU wrap up today. It was an awesome event. But how do you think these 2 will perform for the team in Shanghai later this year?
I think they're both capable of beating anyone. I think Major is probably one of the best tournaments outside of Korea, and Vibe is one of the best circs. As far as North America goes, I think Major, Scarlet, and Vibe are probably the favorites to do okay. If I had to pick one, it would be Scarlet, to be honest. But Major and Vibe are capable of beating anyone. And, you know, they are the Mexico and USA champions. So I'm happy about their chances. I think they can make it deep into the tournament. And, yeah, I'm just hoping for the best.
How important is that tournament to Root as an organization in terms of exposure and everything? Are you kind of counting on them to do very well at that event? To put pressure on them,
no.
kind of?
No, not at all, to be honest. It's an incredibly hard tournament. I am happy that they won WCS, you know, Mexico and USA, because we can sell that.
Right.
You know, it's pretty cool that we are on this side of the world and we have the champions of, you know, Mexico and the US, which is basically the great majority of the market that we're aiming to advertise for. So no pressure to them. They already did their job. It is good to have representation, however, and obviously the better they do, the more we can sell that and advertise that. But it's good to have representation in all these tournaments. Like when we approach sponsors, they want to know what events we're going to, and it's nice that we can say we're going to the World Finals. You know, we're going to IPL and MLG and blah blah blah.
You mentioned the North American scene. I do want to come back to that, but I want to wrap up with Root first. You guys, you've said it yourself, and I've been saying it as well. You gained the most amount of exposure and got popular during the Wings of Liberty beta. Heart of Swarm has been out for about 2 weeks now. Do you kind of see the same pattern occurring with HOTS? Do you think you'll continue to gain more fans because of this? Because you guys, yourself and a lot of the other players do kind of try a lot of these different builds and a lot of different strategies that kind of make you guys popular?
Yeah, I think the potential of a player is best, you know, seen when there's a new game in terms of intelligence, for example. Like Slush is one of the most creative players, Cirque players out there. He's the one person that I would go to advice on, and if he tells me I'm doing something wrong, it's wrong. So you know, when he like he was just first in the beta and he played a lot of games like for not long, like for he was like 20 points ahead of everyone else, and you get 1 point per win and 20 points per loss. So that's pretty impressive. And I think Todd was first yesterday. So seeing that it's, you know, we have a team that was built on potential rather than perhaps, you know, playing countless hours. I think we can do really good in the beta. And I also think that we can carry that throughout and into Heart of the Swarm. Because you know, now the players know that the effort that they put in now, they know that if they can maintain a certain level, and continue to be the best, they can make a shitload of money and not just do it for the love, but also for the love of the monies.
What is next for Root, man? You mentioned a bunch of big sponsor announcements, or not announcements, but you're talking to sponsors. The idea of house is kind of always kicked around as being kind of the holy grail for a team. Is that something in y'all's future?
I didn't understand the question. Sorry, I'm from Peru, bro. Holy grails and stuff, and
the idea of a team house is seen as kind of the pinnacle, the top thing a team can do for itself. Is that something in y'all's future?
Yeah, we want to possibly make a team house in Peru, perhaps for the next year. The U.S. is still a possibility. Pros and cons are Peru is a lot cheaper in terms of living, but the flights are a little bit more expensive. But as far as living goes, I think that Peru could offer better conditions than the U.S. simply because we can have maids, and maids are cool, man. You know, like we have a maid that comes here and like she cooks and she cleans everything and she washes everything, and the fact that she takes so much time away and playing in a nice, clean environment is so nice. You know, if that makes any sense, like you don't have to worry about all of that shit, and you can, you know, I can still play 10 hours a game and manage fucking 6 hours a day and not have to worry about cleaning or cooking or anything like that. So that's really nice, and I think it could make players play better. And Peru's really nice as well, and it's, you know, smart countries. So we might do that. Obviously, rent would be cheaper as well, unless we move to like Arizona or, you know, a cheap state.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Anything to say to the Root fans out there? It's kind of an open, broad question. Anything you want to say to your team's fans?
Yeah, please continue to support us. Clan where we played against EG in the MCSL not long ago. You know, it was a really important clan war for us because it was our first major clan war since we remade the team, and just like I was, you know, watching the rebroadcast and reading the chat, and it was just absolutely beautiful to see, like, root for root and root for root and root for root and root for root. Like, you know, it was just really inspiring, and our fans have always been a big part of our team, and you know, as the owner of the team, but also a popular player at that with a fan base, it makes me just extremely happy that we have a backing that, you know, can potentially push us to the top. So thank you a lot.
Now, going back to the North American scene, you know, it gets shit on compared to a lot of the other scenes. It's seen as the worst one out of kind of comparing it to the EU and the Korean scene and whatnot. Is the gap between the rest of the scenes for North America as big as the trolls kind of make it out to be?
I guess it depends on how you measure it. In terms of playing at the very top North Americans will be able to defeat the very top Europeans or the very top Koreans, even perhaps not the very, very, very top. I mean, they still have chances, I think. But in terms of, you know, depth of player pool, like obviously Korean Masters, you know, someone in Korean Masters could make first in Grandmaster in North America. That is not to say that I couldn't go first in Grandmaster in North America as well. So I don't know if you see what I'm saying, but like if in North America there's, you know, 40 really good players, in Korea there's, you know, 100 extremely good players, and I don't know, 1,000 really good players. So I think that's where the gap lies. Europe as well, and obviously the more good players, the more competitive the scene is, and I think it's up to the teams to, you know, have internal practice and shit like that, because practicing on the ladder is just kind of a waste of time at many points in time, because you don't get matched against people that have the same or even like remotely close mechanics to, you know, the best Koreans and stuff like that. So it's debatable, but I would agree that North America is probably the weakest scene.
What would you say are some of the biggest factors for that? The biggest reasons why?
Well, obviously Korea has a better environment and has always had a better environment. Esports has always been more widely accepted in Korea than in North America and Europe, and I think the same goes to Europe in comparison to North America. Now, MLG has done a great job in North America thus far, and you know, NASL as well to some extent. But we've never had regional leagues. And this is something that I said in the beta and no one listened to me, and it created a lot of controversy. But I am a firm believer that level in North America and Europe would be higher if there were tournaments allocated to just North America or just Europe. I'm not saying, you know, make every tournament just North America or just Europe. I'm saying out of the 12 tournaments, you know, 12 major tournaments a year, make one that's, you know, like WCS, for example. Take WCS, for example. All the WCS players from North America were preparing for WCS, not MLG. Major didn't even play in MLG. You know, a bunch of players didn't even play in MLG. Why? Because WCS was winnable, where MLG isn't. You know? So then you see players trying their fucking best and practicing every single day because they have a shot at a price. What was it? What was the price? $60,000.
Oh yeah,
so,
for WCS, right?
Yeah. So, you know, and then there's the price pool of MLG, which was how much? I can't recall. Something like
50, 25 or 50. I don't know off the top of my head.
So then there's the other tournament for 25 or 50,000 bucks that you're likely not gonna win. No one is likely to win, least of all you, because you're not practicing with MVP and Don Ragu. You know, so I think that in order for the other servers to grow, on par with Korea, I think the talent is there. We just need to have regional leagues and tournaments that impose that training for the players and motivate them. A lot of people disagreed with that in the beta. A lot of people will disagree with that now, but that's what I believe in.
Well, let's talk about Heart of the Swarm, as it's been out, like I said, for about 2 weeks. Just overall thoughts. What do you think about Heart of the Swarm right now in its current state?
I really loved it when it first came out. In its current state, I'm not thrilled with it. They made Protoss extremely weak at the start. Now they made Protoss extremely strong. They removed the Warhound for Terran, which I think is ridiculous. I'm sure it will come back. But in its current state, it's at its very worst. Swarm hosts got nerfed. I can't say for a fact that they won't be useful, but they're certainly a lot less stronger. I think that the right way to balance Heart of the Swarm, the fun way to balance Heart of the Swarm, would have been to buff Protoss without nerfing Zerg and Terran, because then Terran have their Warhounds, and that changes, and the Battle Hellions. And as much as they might be extremely strong, they completely change the metagame. You know, that means that Zerg can't go for gasless openers. That means that Zerg is forced to scout, which we weren't before. It implies a lot of stuff. It means that we might need a Roach Warren in many cases. It just changes everything. And now with those 2 units gone, I can go back to feeling, you know, completely safe behind 4 queens and no gases for a little while there. Protoss was just weak, and their new units were shit. But now they're a lot better. So I don't think they should have removed the Warhound, perhaps nerfed it. I don't think they should have made the Battle Hellion an upgrade. I think mines take too long to burrow. I think Terran is basically Wings of Liberty right now, as far as I'm concerned. There's almost no use of making any of the new units, except when you get an armory and you're getting flooded with links. You might want to make a Battle Hellion, you know. I think Zerg is also strongest with the Wings of Liberty units right now, and Protoss is obviously buffed to a great extent. So I think they took a really shitty approach there, and it discourages players from trying the game out.
Now, you didn't mention the Viper at all. I feel like in all the units in Heart of the
Vipers
Swarm,
cool.
Yeah, I feel like you would definitely have the most fun, maybe, with the Viper. How do you feel about the unit so far, and kind of the implementation that you've seen so far in a lot of the games out there?
It's a really fun unit. It's really good against mech, but now with the nerf to mech, most players are going to go back to bio anyways. It's a useful unit in ZVZ sometimes, in the very extremely late game, or in Roach Hydra Infestor against Roach Hydra Infestor. It's a useful unit. It's a unit that you can't just get just because, though. It's a unit that has very unique uses, and it's a really fun unit. But it's a really 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 squishy unit. So I feel like it's a unit that even if it's strong or it seems strong at the start, uh, once people start learning to deal with it, it's gonna be pretty shitty because like try flying into mech to blinding cloud. If there's one turret in front, your Viper will die. You have two Vipers, well, if they have two Thors, you can have 10 Vipers, they're all gonna die. So yeah, I don't know, I think they need to buff the HP on Vipers if they want to see their spells actually casted.
What would you say right now is the biggest issue within the beta? Biggest negative issue, I guess, to clarify.
I think the fact that they are making everything less powerful instead of making everything more powerful. I think it would be more fun and exciting if we had stronger units like we had in Broodware, like the Reaver was at one point, or like the Defiler, shit that can break a game. But then it's not shit that can break a game only for one race. So sure, the Defiler could be perceived as, Imba, but then the other races have Imba shit too, so it's cool,
Well, kind of wrapping up, last couple of questions I have for you. One of them being, a lot of times players are never really asked this question, but who's your favorite player to watch? If there's a tournament going on, or you said you don't watch replays, so I guess if there's a stream or a tournament going on, who do you enjoy watching the most?
That's a tough question because I don't really do that either. I
Really?
only watch my teammates. Yeah, like for the most part, I don't. I didn't watch a single game of WCS. I I do love it when I play players and they have that potential, and I'm like, oh my god, you're so good. Or they do brilliant shit. Like Baby Knight was my pick to win WCS, and I failed, but he upset a bunch of people, so I'm not too happy.
Yeah.
I'm not too sad about that. I think he did good, and I think he's a fantastic up and coming player. There's another player, Protoss player, Munchie from Austria. He's pretty fucking good too. Really has a lot of potential. Aside from that, my teammates, for the most part, I really enjoy watching, talking, learning from Slush. A lot from Vibe. Major is kind of a robot, so don't learn too much from him. But he just basically copies Korean builds. So he kind of stands against everything that I stand for, but he's so fucking good and so funny that I don't give a shit. Masa is a great player. Really, really good. Kiwi Kaki was probably my favorite player to watch, actually. If there was ever one. Back in Wings of Liberty, he was so creative and just so damn good.
Is he
Everything he did was so well planned.
Is he playing any Heart of the Swarm right now, or is he?
He is.
He is. Okay.
Yes, but he's not playing as much as I would like him to play. I don't. I think. I don't know if he's ever gonna be as good as he used to be, because I don't know if he's gonna play as much as he used to.
Wow.
He still has brilliant strategies, and his brain doesn't like.
No. Did Skype actually just shit out on us? Well, we'll be right back. I'll get KatZ back on the call here to wrap things up. All right, sorry about that, guys. We're back. Skype shit out on us. So we were talking about Kibikaki in the beta right now in Heart of the Swarm. So, Cats, continue on.
Yeah, he was definitely my favorite player to watch when I think about it. He was super creative and stuff, so I really enjoyed it. And Kiwikaki is such a funny person. I really hope he can make a comeback, but I think it's gonna take a lot of change of heart, because right now it's like he's decided that he's gonna play the game but not focus on it as much as he did before. He goes to the gym now and he wants to get more gains, according to him. So yeah, I sure hope he comes back. I mean, he is back, but I sure hope he can live up to his name.
What's next for Cats? What's kind of on your agenda here in the future? You just got to continue doing things with Root in terms of leading and coaching it?
Yeah, pretty much. I wouldn't say I coach it too much. I do help with player management and business side of things, but yeah, I mean it's a lot of work, and I also do most of the graphics for the website. I'm a media arts and animation major, like I said before, so it's it's kind of a thing where if I don't do it, I'm usually not happy with the results, and as a result, I have to devote a lot of time to that as well. But I'm completely happy with that. I try to not neglect my fan base, so whenever I can stream, I do, and I do enjoy and love playing the game, and I will try my hardest to be a competitive player in Heart of the Swarm. But I mean, there's a few things that need to be done first, and then as time progresses, I think the charge, if that makes sense, of the team, like the load of the team, will get a little bit lighter on me, and I'll be able to play more.
We worked together in a MLG arena where you were in analysis. Do you see yourself in the talent role in the future?
Yeah, I love casting. I love analyzing. It's something that I think comes to me naturally. So if whenever there's an opportunity, I wouldn't mind that. Especially if it's like something like like you mentioned, like an MLG arena where, say, I don't qualify, but I got a couple players going anyways. If I could take the opportunity to go and be with my players for free, and then at the same time, commentate and analyze shit, which I really enjoy, then I'll take it. Yeah, we're having a new show, Decision Making. We're in the second episode now. That's going really well. We're hosting Battle Royale tournaments once in a while, like between Root Gaming players, and they've had a decent success. We just launched the Root store, so that's huge. And I'm sorry about the plugin, but yeah, please go and buy Root shirts. They're pretty sick.
How much are they?
$25.
All right.
We're shipping only in the U.S. for now, unfortunately, but that's still a step forward. Thanks to Rush Royalties for that.
Cool. Where do you see yourself kind of to play the guessing game almost? See yourself in Root Gaming in 6 months to a year?
Where do I see Root Gaming at and myself?
Yeah.
6 months to a year. Hopefully we continue to grow. Hopefully we can expand to a couple other games. We're not trying to go crazy and do shit that we can't handle right now. We have a Dota 2 squad, but unfortunately we only got 3 members right now, so we're not in a hurry to go and be like, let's go Dota because we can sell Dota. We want to do everything slowly. We want to get a squad that's going to be loyal to us and that's going to be happy with us, and that we can grow with, and do the same for other games with Root. But for the time being, we're focusing on StarCraft because that's what we know. That's where we are biggest at, and that's the game that obviously I love the most. So I hope we can continue to grow in every aspect. I hope I can become on a personal level a really good competitive player, as well as an entrepreneur of sorts. So my goal is to keep growing. In 6 months to a year, I'm not I'm not saying, okay, I want to have this much money. I'm saying I'm in it for the long run, and I hope that I can continue to do this for, until I retire. I want to be in esports until then.
And finally, the real talk question that we kind of end the show with every time. Define success, and then using that as the definition, do you find yourself to be successful currently?
It's, wow. I guess I should have watched more shows till the end. Shit. I'm not sure how to define success. I think if you're happy with what you have, then you're successful. To an extent of fulfilling your own goals in life, I think success is relative to each and every person. And I think setting goals, I think moving on the right way. If every time you can ask yourself, am I doing better than yesterday, and am I moving in the right direction? I think that makes you, if not already successful, someone who is definitely moving in the right direction. So that's what I aim towards. I believe I am successful on many aspects. I would like to be successful on a lot more, like, providing more salary and more support to my teammates, for instance. That would be a great measure of success for me as a team manager. As a player, I believe I am successful relative to, how many people play the game and how many people are as good or better than me. But I don't think I am successful in the sense that I am one of the very best, and that's something that I'll be trying to accomplish in the near future. So I do have a fan base, and for that I'm extremely thankful, and I do love interacting with people, and I do love having a fan base. It's not something that I ever wanted to be as a little kid. I never wanted to be an actor or a celebrity of any sort, and now that I'm an small celebrity to some extent, I have people that follow me and a lot of people don't. So I'm extremely happy with that. I think I am successful in a lot of ways, and I think I'm heading towards success in those that I am not successful in yet.
All right. Well, do you got any shout outs you want to do? I know you kind of already did some, but feel free to do some more.
Yeah, again, please buy our shirts. They're called Team Spirit. The designer is Alex Stingy. The designer of the mascot, at least. I designed the rest of the logo and the shirt in itself. Please visit root-gaming.com. We're trying to grow as a website, as a community, and we appreciate the support. Follow @RushOrderTees on Twitter and tell them how awesome they are for supporting us. Continue to watch me on Twitch TV, and got my stream, twitch.tv/RootCatZ. My Twitter's @RootCatZ if you want to follow that. It's hard, man. I gotta plug twice because it's my shit and my team's shit. And follow @RootForRoot on Twitter as well. And Root Gaming on Facebook, SC2Root on YouTube. I don't know. Just follow us and support us, and yeah, I love you all very much. So thanks.
Awesome. All right, CatZ, thank you so much for coming on Real Talk, man. It was a pleasure. We will see you on Twitch and streaming and whatnot in the future. From you guys, we got Carmack on Real Talk on Wednesday. He is the, I guess, head ESL guy. I'm not sure of his exact title. We'll definitely get that from him on Wednesday, though, so look for that later that night. We've also got a bunch of live stream stuff coming up for me. I'll probably be playing Borderlands 2 with DJ Wheat here sometime this week over at twitch.tv/hitmejp. Check all that stuff out. Subscribe here on YouTube as well. That really helps me out. Just click the subscribe button. It costs you $0. Do it. But that's going to do it here for Real Talk. We'll see you guys on Wednesday. CatZ, again, thank you for coming on, buddy.
Thank you for having me, dude.
We'll see you later.
Take care.